The night was heavy with mist, and there was lantern along the village path. It was flickering like a watchful eyes, and the silence in the air felt unusual, like the world itself was holding its breath. In the heart of valleys, surrounded by dark woods and rushing rivers, stood a small village called Amuri. To outsiders, it looks like nothing more than farmlands, rice paddies, and small wooden homes. But to those who had lived there all their lives, it carried a weight of stories passed down from generation to generation, the whispers of gods, monsters, and spirits. One story in particular had become superstition. They call it the tale of seven-tailed shadow. It was said that once every century, a girl with seven tails, neither fully human or spirit, would appear under the blood moon. Some believed she was a curse, a sign that destruction was near. Others whispered that she was a guardian, destined to protect the village from darkness. But no one had ever seen her until tonight. A boy named Ebuka was the first to see her. He was on his way back from the river carrying a basket of wet clothes for his grandmother. His sandals clapped against the dirty road, and his thoughts wandered. Mostly he complained about how boring his life is in Amuri's village. But then he stopped. Something was moving in the mist. At first, he thought it was a fox, a small delicate shape that danced across the path ahead. But then the shape grew taller, stiffened on foot. She stood barefoot in the road, her dark hairs flowing down her back like silk, her pale skin glowing faintly in the moonlight. But what froze him in the place wasn't her face, it was her behind. Seven tails swayed in the mist, each one moving independently like serpents alive with their own will. Ebuka dropped his basket. The girl turned her head. For a moment, the world around him felt mute, as if he had fallen into a dream. "You saw me," she said softly, her voice carrying an echo that did not belong to any normal girl. Ebuka wanted to run. Every instinct screamed at him to turn, to flee, to pretend he had seen nothing, but his leg couldn't not obey. Instead, he managed to choke out, who are you?" The girl twisted her head. A faint smile curved her lips, but it was not a comfortable smile. It was a kind that hides secrets. "I have no name. You would know," she said. Her tail lifted, coiling like smoke around her body. "But the world called me cursed." Ebuka barely remembered how he made it home. His grandmother scolded him for dropping the basket on the dirty ground, but her eyes grew sharp when she noticed how pale Ebuka's face was. "What did you see, my boy?" she asked. Ebuka hesitated. He had a half mind to lie, to say he had seen nothing but shadows in the mist. But the grandmother's wise eyes was piercing the truth out of him. "I saw her," he whispered, "the girl with the seven tails." The room was silent. Even the fire in the hearth seemed to crack more. His grandmother's lips tightened. She made the signs with her hands, an oath charm to ward off the spirit. "Ebuka," she said, "you must forget everything that you see and speak it to nobody. Do you understand me?" "Okay." Her voice cracked like a whip. "This is a dangerous knowledge. That girl does not belong to our world. If she is here, that means something bad will soon happen to our village." Ebuka swallowed hard. The fear in his grandmother's eyes was worse than anything he had seen on the road. But how could he forget her? Those eyes, those tails, they haunt him even as he lay awake in the bed that night. And deep inside, beyond the fear, was something else. Who was she? And why had she appeared to me? I really don't understand. The following night grew strange. The mist around the village lingered longer than usual. The dog barked at unseen shapes. Crop withered in pitch as though something unseen has brushed over them. Ebuka tried to push it all aside, to live as though nothing has changed. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. And then, one night, he had it. A whisper at his window. Ebuka. He froze. His hands gripped the edge of his blanket. He wanted to believe it was just the wind, but the voice was too familiar, too clear. He gathered his courage and he slid to open the paper door, and then he peeped outside. There she was. The girl with 7 tails stood under the moonlight, her golden eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "You saw me once," she said, "so I cannot leave you now. Your fate is bound to me." Ebuka's heart pounded. "Why me now?" "Because you did not run." Her tails moved like shadow, coiling around Ebuka, but close enough that he could feel the air shifting with their presence. "Listen to me, Ebuka of Amori," she whispered. "Darkness is coming to this village, and whether you wish it or not, you are part of it now." The next morning, the people of Amori village gathered along the river bank, pointing fingers, whispering some caustic charms to their chests. Ebuka pushed through the crowd, his chest already sinking. The floating in the river was a carcass of a stage. Its body was untouched, no wound, no blood, yet his eyes was gone. Hollow pit staring upwards towards the green sky. It was an omen. One of the elders mustered. "The spirits are restless." "The curse," another voice hissed. "The old tales has returned." Ebuka looked so scary. His thought instantly flashed to her. The girl with 7 tails. That night, when the village lay silent, Ebuka returned to the edge of the forest. He didn't need to call her. She was already waiting. "Have you seen it? Haven't you?" she said softly, while stepping into the moonlight. Ebuka clenched his feet. "The sag that everyone said it's a curse. Was it you that did it?" Her golden eye flared. "If it was me that did it, let me tell you, Ebuka, your village would have not still stand it." Her words shielded him, but beneath them, there was no malice, but only truth. "Ebuka, let me tell you, the darkness is awake," she continued, while her 7 tails was coiling around her like a shield. "The saga is only just the beginning." Ebuka's voice cracked as though he wanted to cry. "Then, what are we going to do?" The girl's lips coiled into a faint smile, and she said, "I am what your people fears, and what they also need. I'm also the cause and the blade to cut it down." The next following night, Ebuka sought her out in secret. Each time, he learned something new. The name she chose to give Ebuka was Adanyawo. Ebuka noticed that whenever she used her tails, her expression grew very wary, as if even breathing caused her strength. One day, she told him as they sat by the river, "All my 7 tails will awake fully, and when that happens, I will no longer walk among the mortals." Ebuka frowned and said, "What do you mean by that?" Adanyawo gazed shift to the horizons, where the mountain loomed. "I am bound to its cycle. Obinna, listen to me. When the 7 tails awakes, I will return to the void from which I came from. Until then, I will fight." "For what?" Ebuka asked, and she answered, to keep the darkness from devouring your world. Her golden eyes narrowed, and for the first time, her voice cracked with something raw that felt like anger. It begins with crops. Children went missing from their home. Animals were found scattered, and there were no predator tracker nearby. And then, one night, a farmer wife vanished, her scream echoing in the mist until it was cut short. The villagers panicked. They locked their doors. They used their charms, even prayed to their gods that was long forgotten. But fear grew sharper with every passing night. Ebuka could not withstand the frustration the villagers was going through. He decided to seek for the help of Adanyanwu. They have come, she said, while her tails were twisting recklessly. Ebuka's chest tightened, and he said, what has come? Adanyanwu lifted her hand between her fingers. The mist thickened while coiling into a shape. They are the umbrellas, she whispered, born of shadows, feeding on lives. They come where the views is weak, and now, Ebuka, they have found Amori village. Ebuka's skin prickled. Then, what? We have to tell the villagers. No, Adanyanwu's voice sharpened while rejecting the suggestion. They would not believe us. They would turn against me and against you for speaking of me. This is a battle fought in silence. Ebuka then said, let me fight with you then. Adanyanwu turned to him, her eyes searching his face. You are no warrior, no priest, no hunter. Why would you risk your life? Ebuka then replied, because you said my fate is bound to yours. And because of that, if the darkness is coming for Amori village, I won't just stand by and do nothing. For a long time, she said nothing. But then slowly, one of her tails lifted, brushing against his chest. Very well then, she murmured. Then you will stand with me and pray the darkness does not consume you first. The attack came sooner than expected. Ebuka was wakened by the sound of screaming. The villagers ran through the streets, holding torchlights, shouting in terrors. The mist has thickened into a suffocating blanket. It was like a long, cropped limb, shadows with teeth that gloomed like embers. Ebuka ran towards the river, his heart hammering. He already knew where to find her. Adanyanwu was already there. She was standing on the water as though it was one solid ground. Her 7 tails blazed with fire, swiping through the mist. Fire erupted from one, lightning from another. Each strike was tearing the shadows apart. But for every embryo she destroyed, more curled from the mist. Ebuka, her voice cut through the choke. He told Ebuka to stay back, but he couldn't. He grabbed a fallen torch and swung it widely at the nearest creature. It shrank as the flame touched it, dissolving into smoke. Adanyanwu looked at him just for a moment, and in that moment, Ebuka saw it, a flick of something human in her golden eyes, not a monster, not a curse, but someone who had carried a burden for far too long. The battle continued till morning, when the first light broke over the mountain. The mist tinted. The remaining embryo shrank and dissolved into nothing else. Amori village was left in ruin. House burnt. Field was trapped down. Villagers huddled in fear. Adanyanwu stood at the river edge, her shoulders trembling. 6 of her tails flicked weakly. Ebuka stepped forward and asked her, Adanyanwu, what is happening to you? She turned, and her expression was more fearful than he had ever seen her. The 7 tails has not yet woken yet. The veil between the world is broken faster than I thought. Her voice cracked, and she said, if the 7 tails awakes fully, Ebuka, I will no longer belong here. and the darkness will not stop with armory. It will spread beyond and swallow everything. Erika's blood ran cold. He looked at her, at the girl who was neither human nor spirit, who carried power beyond imagination and yet looked so fragile in this moment. So what do we do? He whispered. Adayanwu looked at him with her golden eyes that was burning. We will fight, but to do that, my boy, you must make a choice.